This video has been brought to you by Nexon. Fellow warriors, welcome aboard the Joshticle. It's here. This is it. It's finally here. Today, March 30th, 2017 marks the worldwide grand launch of Dynasty Warriors Unleashed for Android and iOS. For some of you, this may be the first time you've heard of this game, to which I respond, it's literally Dynasty Warriors in the palms of your hands. Yes, if you love crazy, empowering, and addictive hack and slash gameplay, stick around as this game might just be for you. Hold the phone. Where can I download it? Well, you're in luck. I'll have a direct link for the official download in the description of this video. It's free, by the way. So by the time you finish watching, you'll be even closer to playing the game for yourself. For most Musou fans, that alone is good enough to warrant a download, but for everyone else, more must be said before giving the game a fair shot. Before we get right into the conversation of whether or not the game is actually good and what my overall thoughts of it are, I want to be clear with you all that yes, this video is indeed sponsored by Nexon, one of the companies behind the game. A while back, I was contacted by them. They gave me early access to the game, and I would then make a video about it. Everybody wins. However, I made it 100% clear to them that I would speak my mind of the game honestly. Whether my words be positive or negative, I would say it. If I think something sucks, I'll let you know. And vice versa, if there's something amazing, I'll gladly talk about it. So here's the quick facts and a brief summary of Dynasty Warriors Unleashed. The game is a collaborative effort between companies Koei Tecmo, Expect Entertainment, and Nexon. Seems fitting for a game based on the Three Kingdoms era of ancient China. Much like its console counterpart, at its core, the game is a real-time action combat hack and slash. You control one warrior at a time to inflict a major ass whooping on waves and waves of lowly peons. Like most mobile games, it has adopted a gacha system. We'll talk more about that in a bit. Unleashed is completely free to play but does feature microtransactions for anyone willing to shell out some cash for some in-game goodies. At the time of this video, the current build of the game is 1.0.0. To install without any problems, you will need a little over 2 GB of free storage on your preferred mobile device. Dubs at the moment are available in Korean and Japanese. Subtitles and text on the other hand are a whole different beast. Lots of language options there. Now, with everybody on the same page, we can finally talk about the game. What follows are my personal experiences while playing an early build of Dynasty Warriors Unleashed on my iPhone 5S. I played off and on for a good week whenever I had the free time to do so. Since you'll be playing the latest brand spanking new version, your mileage may vary. Some things might have been changed or been improved upon since then. So, is Dynasty Warriors Unleashed good? There are definitely some areas that could be improved upon, but yes. Yes. And here's why. For starters, the sheer amount of content is freaking insane and a little overwhelming to be honest. But that's a very good thing. It's rare to see a mobile game with so much content at the beginning of its lifespan. Tons of game modes and there's so much to do. Should I tackle the campaign? Should I chip away at my daily quests? Should I repeat the same missions to grind out experience with my characters? Should I participate in online player versus player? Should I spend 30 minutes of my life fusing multiple weapons and armors to create the ultimate gear? Yeah, I actually did that, but you get the point. Then there's the combat, the main attraction, the reason most of you are watching in the first place. Going in, I wasn't expecting much from a mobile version of Dynasty Warriors, but man, oh man, was I wrong. I never thought I'd be saying this, but it is surprisingly good. Combat and how the game plays should always be the main priority of any Musou game. Thankfully, Unleashed maintained that philosophy. It truly feels like an actual Musou game. When starting out, the combat may feel shallow or monotonous due to the small array of attacks at your disposal. That's because certain skills are locked until a character reaches a certain rank. I'll elaborate more on that in the video, but when you do obtain higher ranking characters and gain more skills, that's when the fun truly begins. You'll know when that happens because you'll feel so powerful that you would have no problem pursuing Lu Bu. Before you enter a battle, you can choose up to 3 characters from your stash of warriors to fill up your team. In some modes, you'll be able to temporarily recruit another person's officer for some support in battle, which is nice. Each character is completely unique with different attacks, skills, and stats. Big plus there. If the character in the first slot is of a high enough rank, he or she will serve as the team leader, thus granting a passive buff to the entire team. These are called leader skills and they usually grant increases to certain stats like health, attack, critical chance, etc. In battle, the heads-up display and overall interface is simple. The top left will not only display the health and Musou gauges of all characters, but also their attributes. More on that in a little while. But for now, here you'll also find the KO count and chain counter. To switch to another character on your team mid-battle, all you have to do is click their portrait. After initiating a transition attack, you are then free to fight to your heart's content. But there's a catch. The previously controlled character will be on cooldown, and you won't be able to switch back to them until a couple of seconds have passed. Understandable because having no cooldowns would outright break the game if you could instantly switch between the 3. Switching on the fly is a lot of fun, but I can't help but think how cool it would be if all 3 characters were fighting at the same time. There's actually a special mode where you can do this, but having the ability to do so at will in every battle as an ultimate attack would be absolutely incredible. Just some food for thought. Clicking on the support character's portrait will temporarily summon the character to back you up. This can only be used once per battle. A feature like this encourages interaction between players. People are more inclined to add one another since they'll have a direct impact. Kudos for that. At the very top of the screen is the current objective. In the top right, you'll find a slew of buttons for a few settings. You can do things like change the camera zoom, toggle audio settings, pause the game or quit the battle, and then there's even a toggle option for autoplay. Whenever you're feeling lazy and want the game to play itself, that's what you would use. A cool feature, but I personally never used it apart from the few instances where I wanted to see how competent the computer AI was. It has its uses in specific situations, but come on now, where's the fun in that? All the way in the bottom right corner are the inputs to all your attacks and skills. On the battlefield, you'll fight lots and lots of peons. Let's face it, that's what most of us are here to do. Nothing is better than slicing through waves of fodder. Movement is achieved by the use of a virtual joystick. There's also another control option that relies on tapping to move, however, I personally saw no reason to use it. Every character has 4 colorful buttons for skills, a button for normal and Musou attacks, and the extreme button for defensive skills when things get a little too chaotic. Alongside the signature Musou attacks which consume a single bar of the Musou gauge, the all-powerful Awakening Musou which consumes 3 bars also returns. Unfortunately, in order to unlock the Awakening Musou, the character must be at a certain rank. As usual, when unleashing a Musou attack, the player is granted complete invincibility for the duration of the attack, so knowing when to use it in battle is indeed crucial to victory. The main course of actual fighting will come from normal attacks. These can be chained infinitely. This is done by hitting the big button in the bottom right corner of the screen. I found that holding down the button rather than repeatedly tapping the screen like a madman was not only more comfortable, but way more effective in battle, as your character will never stop attacking. And finally, the skills and extreme buttons. Unlike the normal attacks, which can be spammed for an eternity, these buttons have cooldowns, meaning you won't be able to use the same skill again until a specific amount of time passes. This is where most of the magic happens. This is where combat truly shines. Skills for each character are not only visually stunning, they actually have really cool effects. Some characters will power up one of their stats, some will become invincible for a couple of seconds, and then there are those who inflict debuffs that will freeze the enemy. That's only a small portion of what I saw, so who knows what other crazy effects are out there waiting to be discovered. It's a great feeling when one of those skills comes off of cooldown. In a way, it's like an instant feel-good moment. Unleashing one of those skills can be so satisfying. Plus, most of these skills are variations of the character's charge attacks or EX attacks in the main Dynasty Warriors games. That's freaking awesome and definitely deserves some praise. Skills are easily the best part of the game. Having access to all four is just pure fun, but you'll have to work your way towards them. In order to unlock them all, you'll have to increase your character's rank. The higher the rank, the more skills he or she can use in battle. Depending on the character, the extreme button will do one of three things. 1. It will cause the character to dash ahead, avoiding any harm. 2. The character will let out a shockwave that pushes all enemies away. Or 3. The character will conjure a shield to defend against any attacks. All of which are fine in theory, but I feel as though the cooldowns for these extreme skills are far too long. In a game where your main source of avoiding damage is on an 8-second-ish cooldown, it can be frustrating when your only option for survival is to either spam normal attacks and hope you don't get wrecked, or attempt to run away. Solution? Cut the cooldowns for all the extreme skills in half. Not only will this make the game much more enjoyable to play, it will also make the game feel so much more fast-paced. If the cooldown is shorter, I don't have to be so conservative with my precious extreme skill. Instead of holding on to the skill for dear life, I can be more trigger happy. And who says I have to use it as intended? Who says I have to use it for purely defensive play? What if I want to dash ahead to cover more ground on the battlefield? I want to connect combos by using the extreme skills. Oh man, would that be amazing? Please, make it happen, Nexon. It's also worth mentioning that the extreme button can be used anytime during a skill, so if your character is a dasher, you can cancel out of any skill if you so desire. Generally, the main objective of a battle revolves around killing a certain amount of peons, destroying siege weapons, fighting officers and/or a boss to win the battle. Sometimes in the midst of battle, you'll find destructible barrels or racks. Most of the time, you'll find some neat power-ups within them. There will be times where you'll find a wine jar that instantly fills a bar of your Musou gauge, or one of those items that boost attack, defense, and movement speed. Every now and then, an enemy will drop these items as well. A nice callback to the series, and it's just enough to give the gameplay just a little bit more oomph. If you ever grow tired of fighting the usual battle, there's a great variety of other game modes to check out. The daily trials can be done twice a day, and they bring some refreshing concepts to the game. Things like beating down a gate with a siege ram, smashing swarms of wooden ox for coins, going on a terror and slaughtering 1,000 enemies, and seeing how quickly you can clear a stage. All of which are great for switching things up. In short, if there's one thing I want you to take from this video, it's that combat is the reason to play this game. If nothing else sparks your interest, at the very least, you can be sure that you'll have a good time on the battlefield. It's what matters most. You can also do things like equip weapons, armor, and artifacts to further augment your characters. In my experience, gear felt like nothing more than glorified stat sticks. Something you toss on to boost your stats, but doesn't actually affect the way you play the game. There's lots of things you can do to improve your gear, however. You can refine, combine, upgrade, and even socket your gear, which you will definitely need to do in order to keep your warriors in tip-top shape. So I've made many references to ranks and attributes, so let me explain. Currently, there are 48 warriors to play as in Unleashed. 15 from Wei, 11 from Shu, 13 from Wu, 2 from Jin, and 7 consisting of the other. That's sort of depressing, especially if your favorite warrior isn't in the game. But nevertheless, as time goes on, eventually more warriors will be added. And let's face it, there's no way you'd be able to collect every single character, which is where the index comes into play. The index serves as a sort of practice or training mode. In it, you can play as any warrior in the game. It's great because it allows you to get a preview of what each character can do, a really smart feature to implement. Each character is assigned a rank and element from the very moment you obtain them. There are 3 attributes: green, blue, and red. A little nod to the three kingdoms, if you will. It's basically a rock, paper, scissors, weapon triangle sort of deal where green beats blue, blue beats red, and red beats green. Attributes directly affect the damage output you can do to the enemy depending on their attribute, which is why you always want to have one of each color in your team in order to adapt to each situation. Attributes are permanently set and cannot be changed. This is where I have a problem. Why is there no way to change an officer's attribute? The chances of attaining a character with your preferred color variation are already low. Why? I'm not asking for an easy mode button that will instantly change the attribute, but the ability to do so would have been so very much appreciated. So as previously stated, each character starts off with a rank. Ranks are indicated by stars, with 1 star being the lowest and 6 stars being the highest. Generally, the higher the rank, the stronger the character. Access to certain skills and abilities are also dependent on rank. For example, a 4-star character will unlock their 3rd skill, a 5-star character will unlock their Awakening Musou attack, and a 6-star character will unlock their 4th and final skill. You are able to promote a character all the way to 6 stars, but that would consist of a crazy amount of experience grinding and requires characters to be made into sacrificial pawns. Fun fact, I wasn't actually able to promote any of my characters. In fact, it was easier for me to pull a high-ranked character out of sheer luck than actually promote one through hard work. Then again, that's just me being lucky. Speaking of luck, this is the perfect time to talk about the gacha system Unleashed adopted. The gacha system is very popular in mobile gaming. The best way to describe it is that it's pretty much gambling, in the sense that you spend in-game currency for a randomized chance of pulling a character. It applies to Unleashed because if you want a certain character, you must be either extremely lucky to pull something amazing like a 6-star character, or be ready to pull out your wallet and buy a bunch of in-game currency to then spam pulls and pray to the almighty random number generator. Personally, I'm totally fine with these kinds of systems. Why? It's fun. The suspense of whether or not you pulled a badass character or a completely garbage character is part of the fun. Sure, it can leave many feeling salty, but it's all about perspective. Best advice is to never expect or feel entitled to get a certain character. Always go into the gacha monster with the lowest expectations, because if you do pull something amazing, the joy you feel will be twofold. I've played the game for hours on end, and not once did I ever feel like there wasn't anything to do. Considering that the game revolves around an energy-based resource system like most mobile games, that's pretty crazy. What's this energy system I speak of? Simply put, it's a limited pool of energy that regularly replenishes itself in timed intervals. Certain actions will cost energy, thus depleting the pool. For example, the game's main campaign splits chapters into battles. In order to participate in these battles, you must use up some of your energy. It has nothing to do with winning or losing the actual battle, it's simply a means of entry. Think of it like a stash of movie tickets. You can't watch a movie in the theaters without a ticket. If you're new to mobile gaming, chances are that you'll be put off by this artificial limitation, which makes total sense. However, Unleashed did something different. Instead of using a single unified energy pool for everything, the game has 3 of them. Yes, 3 separate pools of energy, each exclusive to different game modes. You have action points, battle points, and competition points. Action points, or AP, are indicated by the meat bun icon and are used for boss fights and the campaign. Battle points, or BP, are indicated by the flag icon and are used mostly for PvP modes. Competition points, or CP, are indicated by the crossing swords icon and are used exclusively for skirmishes. The typical reaction is, oh god, more things to keep track of. But no, this is a wonderful feature, and let me tell you why. Let's say you used up all your AP playing the campaign. While you wait for it to refill, you can do something else. Well, I just used up all my AP, time to stop playing and do something productive. Nope. If you want to continue playing, you can just head on over to the PvP modes and deplete some of your BP. It's amazing because you always have something to do. The pacing of the game is interesting because I wasn't even able to unlock all the different game modes and systems. You see, the game will continue to unlock features according to your Lord level. When you first start up the game, you'll create a username, which is your account. That account has its own level, your Lord level. It's totally separate from the levels of your playable characters. At first, I was a tad bit annoyed by that, but the more I thought about it, the more sense it made. Having it like this will stagger the content in a way where the player won't feel totally overwhelmed by the amount of things to do. And then there's the graphics. For a mobile game, the graphics are exceptional. I played with max graphical settings. The GFX quality of every officer's skills are to die for. For the most part, textures and models look great. I imagine most people will be playing on their phones, and if you're in the same boat, the game should look fine. For the people that will be playing on tablets or maybe even emulators on PC, I honestly don't know how good it'll look, but since the screen will be blown up and more bigger, I'm assuming it won't look as nice. In terms of stability and overall smoothness, I had a mixed experience. In instances where lots of things are happening on the screen, there's a noticeable drop in frames, especially when using one of your more flashier skills. The game will sort of freeze or slow down for like a half a second before returning to its normal state. In general, the game would crash often, which was very annoying. However, I think this has more to do with my phone rather than the game itself. Keep in mind that I was playing on an iPhone 5S. Yes, the bare minimum hardware that is compatible on the iOS side. I was also playing on the highest graphical settings, so there's also that. If you're playing on a stronger device, I'd assume the game will run smoother for you. However, when the game did run perfectly, it was great. It was fun. Immaculate. I guess this is a good time to talk about battery consumption. As seen previously, it's a graphically demanding game, so I wasn't too surprised with how quickly my phone's battery was drained just from an hour of game time. If you're going to play this game for any long period of time, make sure you have access to a charger. Cutscenes are a hit or miss. Sometimes you'll see static images in conversation with each other, and then there are other times where actual pre-rendered cutscenes are rolling. Most of these cutscenes are taken straight from the main Dynasty Warriors games, but if I remember correctly, I think there are a couple of original pre-rendered cutscenes made specifically for this game. In regards to the music, there's not much to say. Most, if not all, of the tracks are directly pulled from the main series of games. Something odd I noticed, however, was that some tracks weren't properly looping. Sometimes the song would end, and after a moment of dead silence, it would immediately restart again. Not too sure what's up with that, but I think it has already been fixed upon the grand launch. In terms of difficulty, it seemed fair for the most part. If your characters weren't leveled up or geared enough compared to the opposition, you would obviously have a very hard time. However, in the campaign, there is a noticeably high difficulty spike after a certain point, and that's where I struggled. I was playing on the default easiest difficulty, and man, some of those enemy officers are total brutes. Sure, it was a little frustrating at first, but it made you think about the battle. Instead of mindlessly attacking and spamming skills, you would learn the most optimal solutions to every situation. That in itself was very rewarding. It's the game's way of telling you to get good. If you fail and fail again, try grinding out some levels, forging better gear, anything that'll close the gap between you and the opposition. How's the PvP aspect? There are many forms of PvP within the game. Some modes revolve around sending your characters to attack another player or claim territory. The fighting, however, happens instantly off screen. Then there's the arena, where you fight in a 3v3 against another person's team. Here, you are in direct control, and you must fight the opponent who is being controlled by a CPU. Those modes were cool and all, but the big attraction here is the skirmish mode. This is where real-time online PvP combat takes place. Yes, when you're in this mode, you are actually fighting against another player in real time. Not a CPU, but an actual human being. But there's a catch. Skirmish mode is only available for 2 hours every day at a very specific time slot, which is why I was never able to actually try it out for myself. Very disappointing, but at the same time, there's probably a good reason they did this. My only hope is that as time goes on, the game will eventually open up the time slot for longer periods of time. How's the social interaction between players? So there's a decent amount of content here. You have a friends list which is capped at 30, and honestly that's a very small number, and as time goes on I really hope they increase it to at least 100 slots. Friends are able to send each other BP as gifts, as well as offer up a character as support on the battlefield. To my surprise, there's actually a guild system, as well as a chat room. I didn't mess around too much with either, so I'm not exactly sure what benefits there are to joining or creating a guild. The chat room is divided between a global tab and a guild tab. Every now and then I would see someone typing something up, but I never really paid much attention to it. Now here's a very important question. Is free-to-play viable in Unleashed? This refers to people who want to play the game but also refuse to spend a single cent. You know, it's hard to say either way. I'm not able to comfortably give a definitive answer because I feel like I would have to play the game for months on end to truly know. However, from my experiences, I'm leaning towards the side that free-to-play is indeed viable. How so? Well, the game rewards you for literally anything. Just by normally playing through the game, you will be completing quests and you won't even be aware of it. There are quests for everything. Some are daily, some are weekly, and some are there forever. Heck, you get rewards just for logging into the game on a daily basis. Rewards can range anywhere from gear, items, currency, and even characters, so there's something for everyone. And finally, there's the market, which also gives you free character and item pulls multiple times a day. Based on that alone, I think being entirely free to play is mostly viable. Now with everything said and done, do I see myself continually playing this game in the future? I do. Based on what I've played so far, yes. If they continue to push out new content and updates on a regular basis, I can see myself really getting into it. If you have love for anything Dynasty Warriors or Musou related, listen to me. Stop what you're doing and give this game a shot. As someone who has been playing Dynasty Warriors games since the young age of 3, I consider myself a veteran. I've been keeping tabs on Dynasty Warriors Unleashed since the very beginning. When the debut trailer first surfaced onto the internet, back then, it didn't even have a finalized title. Now fast forward to the present, a little over half a year has passed, and now, the game is out and its future is looking promising. So once again, is Dynasty Warriors Unleashed good? Yes. Surprisingly, yes. If you'd like to learn more about the game, head on over to the official website via the link in the description. There you'll not only find the download links, but also the latest news and updates pertaining to the game through Facebook. Of course, if Facebook isn't your thing, feel free to subscribe. So long as the game continues to keep me entertained and is still fun for me, I plan to continue uploading more videos. News and gameplay are given, so stay tuned for that. Before I conclude the video, I just want to say thank you to the awesome folks at Nexon for the opportunity, and of course, thank you, my fellow warriors, for watching. So as the video comes to an end, hopefully your download of the game is a little closer to a full install. Make sure to comment down below and tell me if you think the game's worth downloading. And when you finally have the chance to play it for yourself, come back to this video and let me know how you feel about it. I'm curious, don't be shy. So, until the next batch of the juicy info, stay tuned for more Musou greatness. I'm OhhhhMyJosh, and remember, do not pursue Liu Biu.